Network Africa. Presidential campaigns kick off in Cameroon ahead of the elections scheduled for October 12. And speaking of elections, Gabon still awaiting results in an election that could prove crucial for General Brice Nguema's leadership. Plus, the Ogun-Osun River Basin Development Authority prepares to release water from the oil dam. Hello and welcome to the program. I am Amarachi Ubani. It's Monday, so let's begin with stories and happenings that made headlines over the weekend.
On Saturday, Gabon held its first round of legislative and local elections, marking a key moment in the country's transition following a 2023 coup that ended more than 5 decades of Bongo family rule. Saturday's vote will elect 145 members of the National Assembly, 2 of whom will represent Gabonese citizens living abroad. The local polls are for councillors who will indirectly elect the 70 senators, mayors and presidents of regional assemblies. A second round of the election is scheduled for October 11th for constituencies where no candidate has obtained an absolute majority in the first round. Malawi's newly elected president, Peter Mutharika, announced that his administration plans to engage with the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank and other international institutions, including some of the big individual countries, in order to address the economic challenges facing his country.
The time for cooperation has begun.
During his first major speech since the election at the Mbadwe residence in Blantyre, he thanked the people of Malawi for entrusting him with responsibility to lead the nation for the next 5 years.
Now the work of national transformation must take center stage. The challenges before us are real. Our economy must recover. Food must be available for everyone. Jobs must be created. Our healthcare and education systems must be strengthened.
In DRC, at least 8 people have been reported killed in recent attacks on Oicha when dozens of traders heading to the market were targeted. According to residents and locals, these Islamist allied democratic forces were believed to be responsible for the attacks. National Secretary of the Congo's Human Rights Commission, Simeon Mvung, urged the population to remain resilient and called on security forces to step up efforts to protect civilians. ADF militants, originally formed in Uganda, reportedly affiliated with ISIS, have intensified their activity in eastern Congo in recent years, exploiting instability and local conflicts to carry out deadly attacks on civilians. And thousands of pro-Palestinian demonstrators filled the streets of Cape Town, marching towards the parliament to demand an end to what they described as genocide in Gaza. The demonstration, organized by the Al-Quds Foundation, the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, and the Muslim Judicial Council and others, reportedly culminated in the handing over of a memorandum of demands to a government representative. Meanwhile, Israel has strongly denied genocide or famine in Gaza and maintained that unauthorized attempts to breach the blockade are dangerous, unlawful, and undermine ongoing humanitarian efforts. According to Israeli officials, the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza erupted on October 7, 2023, when a Palestinian group launched an attack on southern Israel, killing 1,139 people and kidnapping more than 200 others.
Just other stories making headlines now. Presidential elections are coming up in just a few weeks in Cameroon. The Electoral Commission has lifted the embargo on those presidential campaigns. The polls set for October 12 will help determine whether or not President Paul Biya will remain as president. The 92-year-old has been president since 1982, winning every election following. This time round, there are 12 candidates running for the same seat. Among those hoping to defeat the long-serving leader is his former ally, ex-tourism minister Bello Maigari, who launched his campaign with a rally in Douala. During the event, Mr. Maigari presented two former presidential candidates, Ateki Carson and Akere Muna, who have withdrawn from the race and formed a coalition with him. This development comes amid growing calls for a broader coalition between Maigari and the other major contender in this presidential race. Meanwhile, ahead of those polls, the Cameroonian government has introduced online registration for consular cards for citizens of the country around the world. The consular card is an identity card presented at any Cameroonian mission, indicating that the carrier is a bona fide citizen of the country and should therefore be granted necessary assistance. The card also enables law authorities to identify the carrier as a citizen of Cameroon. These new changes are coming as Cameroon enrolls electoral registers for Cameroonians living in the diaspora to vote in the upcoming election. The consular card is one of the requirements for citizens who wish to participate in the electoral process. Well, here in Lagos, the Minister Plenipotentiary Inspector General of Services at the Ministry of External Relations in Cameroon, Mrs. Sylvie Ilong, intimated Cameroonians resident in the state about the new process, which will now cost 20,000 francs, payable in the Naira equivalent.
Yes. I'm here with my delegation. I'm sure they've gone upstairs. Mr. Ekoto and Madam Ruth Menge, who's in charge of the IT. And on behalf of the Minister of External Relations, we want to heartily welcome you here at this launching of the second generation of consular cards here in Lagos. As you well know, Cameroon diplomatic missions and consular posts all over the world are there to protect and assist Cameroonian citizens living abroad. So you seated here and all our friends of that, you are our priority. Bilateral cooperations with the Nigerian government is second. The Cameroonian citizen is number one. It means if you are not here, we don't have this possibility.
Because what you say enter into my ears when I've not been able to have something tangible like I was saying to my phone in diaspora.
Some citizens did express their concerns about the introduction of the online system for the payment of the consular cards. One of them said he was concerned about the cost of accessing the cards as well as its availability and and how simple the process will be for people who do not understand how to go about it.
Enter into my ears when I've not been able to have something tangible like I was saying. One thing in Nigerian context, I would like you to understand that there are millions of Cameroonian years aching for a living, not really doing well. Not really doing well. And the minimum wage in this country goes from 30,000 to about 60-something thousand. And if you take it at the 30,000, that is the cost of the 22,165 CFA francs is double of the minimum wage of somebody aching for his living here. That's why I'm telling you to look at the Nigerian context. So if I earn 30,000 as the end of the month and I need to have only my consular card for a 60,000 naira, how do I cope with my family? Because there's 2 months of my family that is gone. And you can look at us, some of us are very fertile and handsome in Cameroon. We have 4, 5, 6, 7 children. And with 30,000, how will I feed them when I've taken 2 months of my salary off that?
Nigeria is good. It's a good country with the citizens. They are good people, even though we have a challenge for the immigration sometimes. They are nice with the security. They are nice with us. They don't embarrass us like other countries. If you go there, police will be embarrassed. Here in Nigeria, police don't embarrass foreigner.
Well, let's turn to Uganda now, which has officially kicked off presidential campaigns ahead of an election that is likely to be a showdown between incumbent President Yoweri Museveni and his main rival, Bobi Wine, and a repeat of the 2021 election. The country's electoral commission has released an official campaign schedule for all 8 presidential candidates to organize their rallies across the country while avoiding location clashes. The commission last week cleared both President Museveni and Bobi Wine to enter the race. At just 81 years old, President Museveni is seeking re-election under the banner of his national resistance movement. He's been 40 years at the helm of Uganda. In 2017, lawmakers removed a constitutional age limit on the presidency, leaving room for Museveni to run for as long as he wishes. In a press conference last week, he highlighted his achievements and vowed to invest in education, infrastructure, and health. Critics, however, denounced his government's human rights abuses and suppression of political opponents. Facing him is Bobi Wine, who embodies a hope for change. The singer-turned-politician received 35% of the votes in the last presidential election in 2021, finishing in second place. Wine alleged his victory was stolen through widespread ballot stuffing and other malpractices. Electoral authorities deny the allegations. In another development, the Electoral Commission in the Seychelles says there will be a presidential rerun between the 2 main contenders. Following elections held on Sunday, opposition figure Patrick Hermini received 48.8% of the votes, while the incumbent Wavul Ramlakawan garnered 46.4% according to official results. A candidate needs to win more than 50% of the vote to be declared winner. The date for the rerun election is yet to be announced. Hermini represents the United Seychelles Party, which dominated politics for decades in the country before losing power 5 years ago. It was the governing party from 1997 to 2020. Not quite done yet with elections in Africa. Guinea is set for December 28th. This follows a controversial referendum on constitutional changes on September 21st that passed with an 89% score of yes votes, according to official statistics. The referendum also reportedly saw 86% of voters participate, but was boycotted by the opposition, which called it an electoral masquerade and said the results were known in advance. The referendum notably allows General Mamadi Doumbouya, the current leader of the transitional government, to run for president. This is despite Doumbouya promising during his military coup that ousted former President Alpha Condé from power that he would not run in the presidential election ending the transitional period. The presidential term has also passed from 5 to 7 years and is renewable only once. Gabon is awaiting election results today, which could prove crucial for the leadership of General Brice Nguema. More than 900,000 Gabonese were called to the polls on Saturday in the country's first legislative and local elections since a 2023 military coup that toppled the Bongo dynasty. Voters were asked to elect 145 parliamentary members, as well as local councillors, who will in turn indirectly elect senators, mayors, and president of regional assemblies. Polls closed on Saturday evening, with vote counting beginning immediately after. Observers were allowed to watch the operations. Initial results were still pending in the early hours of today. The vote unfolded mostly peacefully. Just in the commune of Ntoum, a suburb of Libreville, voting was cancelled in one constituency because of tensions between the candidates. South Africa is preparing for local government elections. The country's former head of state, President Thabo Mbeki, has urged members of the African National Congress to remove and renew themselves from those who will join the party for self-enrichment. Mbeki was speaking at the party's political school class in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal, a province in which ANC dropped from 54% to 17% in the last general elections.
We recognize the fact that there's a crisis. You can't drop from where we were to this 17% and think that there's no crisis. I'm very, very glad that the comrades recognize that, first of all, that there is a serious problem. to the point where it has been said, but it's even difficult to say when you look around the localities in the province, which one would you say is an ANC base?
Former South African President Thabo Mbeki. We're off on a short break now on Network Africa. Still ahead. It's World Tourism Day around the world over this weekend, but Lagos was in celebration. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, has assured Nigerians in the diaspora of robust engagement in the policies and programs of the administration of President Bola Tinubu with a view to positioning Nigeria in its rightful place among the Committee of Nations. He urged Nigerians overseas to keep believing in their home nation, saying the country is on the right track under President Tinubu's watch. The Vice President, who spoke during a meeting with members of the Nigerian community in the United States on the sidelines of the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, said Nigeria is on the right path with the reforms being undertaken by the President.
Are making progress. The Nigerians go and conquer the world. That's right. Nigeria no go carry last. Yep. The economy is booming. And be rest assured that we'll have a very robust engagement with my boss when we get back home. Honestly, we are not tapping into our diaspora. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We ought to do much better. Nigeria, that's why the action is. Beams was talking about food crisis in 2050. By that 2050, some of you are holding American passports. By 2050, Nigeria will surpass the United States as the third most populous nation. And by the end of the century, Nigeria will be the most populous nation on earth. They are duty in numbers. And we are a rich country. We have no business being poor. Wherever I go, whenever I meet foreign delegations or anything, I tell them, no, I carry my poverty with dignity. I'm not coming here with a begging bowl. No. I want to deal with you on a pedestal of equality. My country is rich. I have no business being poor. That's right. Our entire ecological zones. There are certain parts of Nigeria, if money is to be grown, believe me, you can grow money in Kebbi. You can grow money in Niger State. Yes. In terms of natural endowments, we have 44 different mineral resources in Nigeria.
Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima. Well, staying with the Hunger at 80 celebrations and the conversations at the General Assembly Hall, African leaders spoke with one voice at the just concluded event. That's according to Foreign Affairs analyst Ero Ibafidon. He was reviewing addresses at the General Assembly Hall as African leaders called for reforms within the global agency. He says no country had more spotlight than the other, and the UN will do well to heed these suggestions for a permanent seat for Africa.
What the Vice President did here was quite laudable and is well commended, because he was calling for more of partnership, because it's more like this is Nigerians' right. Nigerians are the center of it. And like he mentioned in his speech, Nigeria is the third largest population in the world. So our voices should not just be, people shouldn't be making decisions for us. We should be at the center of where decisions are being made on the global stage, mostly at the United Nations. So yeah, I think it's more of him calling for partnership. Let's work together to actually achieve more, rather than him actually just meeting. It was more like, let's work together so that we can achieve more together, and we can champion a lot more together. That is what I think that meeting was more about, more less partner, let's work together.
Do you think that President Tinubu should have attended the ONGA?
If you ask me, I would say yes, it would have made a lot of change. It would have actually helped amplify more of Nigerians' presence because it was centered around more world leaders. But the vice president also did a very good and fantastic job. He was able to actually champion the voice of the president even while he wasn't there. So yeah, it would have made a lot of difference, but the vice president also did a very, very fantastic job. This is actually a call that African is uniting and we're having a uniform voice. And we are not just waiting. One African is not saying one thing, another one is saying something else. There is a unity in what they are all talking about. And this is actually calling for a permanent seat at the United Nations. African is uniting, it's becoming one voice, becoming like a uniform voice. And they are more now confident that, okay, this is who we are. We are not just countries that you bring used or humanitarian aid to. We want to be part of decision making. We want to start giving back because African is the future. Everybody wants to be back in Africa. And there's a statistic that states that few years from now, 50% of the world population is going to be Africa, because now as we speak, Africans are everywhere in the world. So there is need for African leaders to understand their roles as being leaders and champion meaningful conversations that is going to help the next generation that is coming after us.
You can watch the full interview with Ero Ibafidon on Channels Television on Diplomatic Channel. It airs tonight at 8:30 p.m. if you're in the UK on Channel 515, beg your pardon, and on DSTV at Channel 420 at 11:30 p.m. We're still covering developments in South Sudan, especially as regards the case of the former Vice President Riek Machar. A special court has now ruled that it does have the jurisdiction to prosecute and suspend Mr. Machar and 7 co-accused who are charged with murder, treason and crimes against humanity. The court dismissed all objections by Machar's legal team regarding its authority, the constitutionality of the proceedings and the claim that he was immune from prosecution. The case will continue on Wednesday. Machar has dismissed the charges brought against him 2 weeks ago as a political witch hunt, which they have raised fears of return to civil war. Those charges against him stem from an attack in March by a militia allegedly linked to Machar, which killed 250 soldiers and a general. An international court of arbitration has temporarily blocked the sale of uranium stockpiles over a dispute between the Niger government, and French mining group Orano. A court in Washington, D.C. on Friday ordered Niamey to halt the sale of uranium, which Orano claims has been stolen from it. A court also ordered the release of Orano's representative, who's been held in custody since May. In December last year, Niger's military junta took control of Orano's operation as part of a wider push to regulate the mining of raw materials by foreign entities. Orano's license was suspended months later, and the company suspended production. Since coming to power in 2023, Niger's military rulers, who Paris refuses to recognize, have expelled French troops and forged closer ties with Russia and Ukraine. The Lagos State government has reaffirmed its commitment to transforming Takwa Bay and other beach destinations into world-class tourist attractions. That commitment was reiterated during a special event held at Takwa Bay to commemorate the 2025 World Tourism Day, themed tourism and sustainable transformation. The event, in collaboration with the Nigerian Association of Tour Operators and other key players, was held over the weekend to mark the World Tourism Day celebrations.
We took it upon ourselves in conjunction with Lagos State to actually train the communities on how to receive people on tourism, you understand, how to create that customer service when tourists come in, to actually, build ourselves and of course be prepared for what is coming in December and of course after December. So for anybody in the diaspora who wants to visit Nigeria, they contact, the best people to contact is the tour operators, so that you don't fall into the wrong hands. And of course, celebrating with the locals here means a lot to this community. I'm glad Lagos State is, partnering with NATOP this year to make World Tourism Day, a memorable one.
Today, we don't only celebrate tourism, we celebrate travel, we celebrate a whole lot of things that tourism has brought together. And we'll also thank our governor for continuing to promote tourism within the states.
And as we end the program, did you know that South Sudan is the newest country in the world? A country gained independence in 2011 after a referendum in which its people voted overwhelmingly to secede from Sudan. This event marked the end of a protracted civil war and resulted in the birth of the world's newest country at the time, becoming the 193rd nation in the world. That's Network Africa. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Tubani.